They speak quickly, filling every silence, correcting details, finishing stories others barely began to tell. At first, it looks like confidence, enthusiasm, certainty that dominates conversations effortlessly. Then a familiar sensation emerges as listening quietly becomes strangely uncomfortable. Something deeper is moving beneath the noise, and it does not want stillness yet. The behavior often described as ignorance is not an absence of intelligence, but an overactive protective response shaped by experience and unconscious threat detection. What appears as constant talking is frequently a nervous system scanning for danger, filling space before vulnerability can enter the room. Psychologist Carl Jung observed that what remains unconscious expresses itself indirectly, often through habits that seem irrational on the surface. A group discussion drifts toward uncertainty, and one voice grows louder, adding facts, opinions, anecdotes before silence can expose uncertainty. The room adjusts around that voice not because it is accurate, but because it occupies oxygen, leaving little room for reflection. In this moment, speaking is not communication, but regulation, a way to stabilize inner discomfort by external sound. Evolutionary psychologists suggest early humans survived by signaling dominance or belonging quickly before exclusion or threat could occur. Silence historically meant danger, the pause before attack, rejection, or loss of status. A quiet classroom memory lingers where answers earned approval, while hesitation invited ridicule, shaping patterns long before adulthood. Words became armor, stacked rapidly, not for meaning, but for protection against being seen as insufficient. In social settings, this pattern masquerades as certainty, yet beneath it lies a fear of being rendered invisible. A family dinner grows tense, and one person narrates, continuously recounting events, correcting others, interrupting laughter before it lands. The table does not challenge the behavior because it feels familiar, almost expected. Behavioral scientist B.F. Skinner noted that actions reinforced by relief are repeated even when they distort reality. Each uninterrupted monologue brings a brief, calming effect, teaching the brain that talking prevents discomfort. The label ignorant distracts from the function because it frames the behavior as a flaw rather than a learned defense. When listening requires stillness, stillness invites self-awareness, and that awareness may carry unresolved doubt. Most people first recognize this pattern externally, noticing how exhausting certain conversations feel. Few immediately sense how close the pattern sits to their own reflexes. The deeper origin does not live in intellect, but in early survival, where silence once felt unsafe. If you're still watching, you probably notice things most people miss. You question behavior. You look beneath the surface. If that sounds like you, subscribe. This channel was made for minds like yours. Long before language became a tool for insight, it functioned as a signal of safety, belonging, and control within uncertain environments. The developing brain learns quickly which behaviors reduce threat and which invite discomfort, shaping patterns that persist without conscious permission. In early childhood, attention often arrives conditionally tied to performance, explanation, or noise rather than quiet presence. A child speaks eagerly, filling space because silence goes unnoticed while words briefly summon recognition. That momentary warmth imprints deeply, teaching the nervous system that speaking equals existence. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl described how humans orient behavior around avoiding inner emptiness long before seeking meaning. A classroom scene unfolds where hesitation draws laughter, while rapid answers earn approval, reinforcing speed over reflection. The lesson is subtle, yet enduring. Think less, speak faster, survive socially. Over time, the brain stops distinguishing between physical threat and emotional exposure, responding similarly to both. Fear does not announce itself clearly, it disguises itself as certainty, urgency, and excessive explanation. In households where disagreement triggered punishment, words became shields launched preemptively. Speaking first prevented others from defining the narrative, reducing unpredictability. Neuroscience suggests that uncertainty activates threat circuits, urging immediate action rather than contemplation. Talking becomes that action, filling the gap where ambiguity might linger. A child interrupted repeatedly learns that listening leads to disappearance, while speaking fights erasure. The habit matures unnoticed, celebrated, even praised as confidence or leadership. Evolutionary memory whispers that those who signaled loudly survived group hierarchies, while quiet observers risked exclusion. This ancient logic persists even when modern contexts no longer demand it. A workplace memory surfaces where meetings reward assertive interruption more than thoughtful restraint. The nervous system records another confirmation that volume equals value. Psychologist Alfred Adler wrote that perceived inferiority often drives exaggerated self-expression rather than withdrawal. The talking is not ignorance, but compensation calibrated unconsciously. In adolescence, peer groups reinforce rapid opinion sharing as currency for acceptance. Pauses become liabilities misread as weakness. The brain adapts by eliminating pause entirely. A dinner conversation ends abruptly when silence falls, and one person fills it with trivia unrelated yet comforting. That relief trains repetition regardless of relevance. Social learning compounds the pattern as media personalities model dominance through constant commentary. Young minds absorb that authority sounds like uninterrupted speech. Listening rarely appears rewarded in visible ways. Silence remains associated with vulnerability, exposure, and judgment. Cognitive load increases when listening deeply, demanding regulation, emotional attunement, and patience. Speaking bypasses that effort, offering immediate discharge. Over years, the pattern fossilizes, mistaken for personality rather than adaptation. Most never trace it back to its first reward or first fear. The origin hides beneath layers of habit shaped by environments that valued noise over nuance. What begins as protection gradually shapes identity, influencing how others are perceived and responded to. The pattern does not stay private, it spills outward, shaping social exchanges in predictable ways. By adulthood, the pattern has left its origin and now lives openly inside relationships, workplaces, and public exchanges. It rarely announces itself as fear, instead it presents as enthusiasm, authority, or helpfulness. Friends notice it first during casual conversations where stories are overtaken before reaching their meaning. One person leans forward, speaking over pauses, correcting minor details, redirecting attention back to their voice. The interaction feels strangely draining, though no conflict has occurred. In friendships, listening becomes transactional, offered briefly, then reclaimed through personal anecdotes. Emotional disclosures are met with advice, explanations, or parallel stories that redirect focus away from vulnerability. The intention feels supportive, yet something essential is missed. A quiet moment arrives and is immediately patched with words as if silence threatens collapse. Partners often describe feeling unseen rather than unheard. A shared concern is answered with lectures, reassurance, facts, and solutions delivered rapidly. What was needed was presence, not performance. At family gatherings, this behavior blends seamlessly into familiar roles rarely questioned. One relative narrates, continuously anchoring the room with opinions, memories, interpretations. Others accommodate by withdrawing emotionally while remaining physically present. The dynamic persists because it avoids open conflict. In professional spaces, the pattern gains legitimacy. Meetings reward those who speak first, longest, and loudest regardless of depth. Ideas become contests of airtime rather than clarity. A thoughtful contributor hesitates, watching momentum disappear beneath confident noise. Silence again loses status. Power dynamics amplify the behavior as authority shields it from challenge. When a superior dominates, dialogue, interruption appears decisive rather than defensive. Subordinates sense resistance is risky and adapt by disengaging internally. The cycle reinforces itself quietly. Public discussions mirror the same rhythm. Panels, debates, interviews reward speed, certainty, and constant output. Listening appears passive while talking signals relevance. Media culture favors reaction over reflection. A talk show guest fills every second with commentary, fearing the edit will erase them otherwise. The behavior spreads not through instruction, but imitation. Social platforms intensify visibility, rewarding frequency over depth. Opinions expressed quickly gain attention, while thoughtful pauses vanish unnoticed. People first recognize the pattern when encountering it externally. They describe certain individuals as exhausting, overwhelming, impossible to converse with. Rarely do they connect the discomfort to shared social conditioning. The behavior feels personal, but functions collectively. Psychologist Irving Goffman noted that social interaction often becomes performance rather than exchange. Talking dominates because it controls the stage. Listening risks unpredictability. A disagreement escalates not through hostility, but accumulation of words. Each side speaks faster, layering points before absorption occurs. The conversation ends unresolved, yet saturated. No one feels understood, yet everyone feels expressed. In romantic conflict, one partner explains feelings endlessly while the other retreats silently. The imbalance deepens misunderstanding. The speaker senses distance and increases verbal output. The listener senses pressure and withdraws further. Neither recognizes the survival pattern driving both roles. In friendship, silence is misread as judgment or boredom. Words rush in to preempt imagined rejection. The group laughs, nods, moves on. Surface harmony remains intact. Underneath, connection thins. These dynamics persist because they appear normal, even functional. Few environments reward restraint openly. Most reward visibility. The behavior thrives unnoticed because it aligns with cultural momentum. Only occasionally does someone feel the unease without language for it. Some people will recognize this immediately. Modern life does not create the pattern, but it feeds it relentlessly. Technology magnifies the impulse to speak rapidly and assertively, offering instant validation while minimizing reflective listening. Social media platforms reward volume, frequency, and certainty with likes, shares, and algorithmic amplification regardless of accuracy or depth. A notification pings, and one types, quickly reacting to threads, adding commentary before the original thought can settle. The brain interprets this reward as survival, not entertainment, continuing the pattern unconsciously. Cultural narratives glorify the outspoken, confident persona, elevating constant expression above measured reflection or hesitation. A viral clip features someone interrupting others, assertively earning applause and imitation across online communities. Even news cycles favor rapid commentary over thoughtful investigation, rewarding immediacy and certainty. Micro-influencers speak continuously, offering personal insights and lifestyle commentary, while audiences consume passively, rarely engaging deeply. Psychiatrist Carl Jung suggested that the persona masks vulnerability. The same is true online, where visibility substitutes for authentic presence. In workplaces, email threads extend conversations endlessly as people assert points repeatedly to ensure attention and relevance. A single email grows with clarifications, rebuttals, and updates, each sent to preempt misinterpretation or silence. The hidden psychological cost is chronic tension, internalized anxiety, and social exhaustion felt by both speaker and receiver. Zoom meetings intensify the behavior. The urge to fill silence with words is magnified when digital presence is quantified. A colleague dominates discussion with rapid slides of ideas. The group nods quietly, yet reflection is minimal, comprehension partial. Behavioral reinforcement loops amplify through notifications, applause, and status recognition, silently training the mind to equate speaking with worth. Cultural storytelling celebrates outspoken individuals while quiet observers remain invisible, teaching early adaptation for attention acquisition. In dating apps, conversations unfold with rapid exchanges, immediate replies, and continuous elaboration to maintain engagement and avoid perceived rejection. Micro-stories of online debates show participants talking past each other, correcting points, repeating facts, rarely pausing for listening or understanding. Parents in digital communities post extensively to demonstrate knowledge, while children imitate the behavior as social competence. The consequence is subtle yet profound. Constant talking drains cognitive bandwidth while masking unresolved internal anxieties. Even casual group chats mimic this pattern. Messages pile up, each new thought competing for dominance, listening displaced by the rhythm of immediate response. A streaming personality narrates life uninterrupted. Audience absorbs passively, yet the sense of genuine engagement remains elusive. In classrooms, digital tools allow fast responses. Visibility encourages speaking first, reinforcing early survival patterns into modern reward systems. Words become currency, silence a deficit, reflection an afterthought, and the nervous system adapts accordingly. Social incentives hide cost beneath affirmation, fostering exhaustion, superficial connection, and an illusion of mastery. The habit escalates quietly, almost invisibly, weaving itself into the fabric of work, play, and leisure alike. Even as efficiency increases, empathy diminishes. Listening becomes an underdeveloped skill overshadowed by the mechanics of constant output. Micro-stories repeat. One person dominates video calls, another scrolls silently, each fulfilling roles unconsciously mapped by earlier conditioning. Modern amplification ensures that speaking loudly and frequently is rarely punished and often rewarded, creating a cultural echo chamber of verbal dominance. Awareness of the pattern begins to surface only when discomfort grows noticeable, leaving observers unsettled yet compelled to continue engaging. The tension is internalized, a quiet psychological weight that amplifies the original survival strategy into social architecture. Beneath the applause and acknowledgement lies an invisible erosion of depth, reflection, and patience. The mind craves reward, yet suffers from its own amplification, a cycle invisible yet omnipresent. The next layer will bring a closer look at that discomfort, lingering in plain sight, unresolvable yet undeniable. Recognition arrives slowly, often as subtle unease after interactions. The mind notes exhaustion without conscious accusation or clear source. In meetings, one notices the constant talking, the interruptions, the corrections, yet cannot name why energy feels drained and attention fragmented. A friend tells a story, another interjects repeatedly, details altered, conclusions preempted, leaving the teller oddly hollow and the listener unsettled. Even personal reflection can feel incomplete. Thoughts emerge only to be interrupted internally by rehearsed words, rehearsed defenses, rehearsed responses learned long ago. The behavior exists without malice, yet its presence shapes emotional landscapes in ways rarely articulated or consciously examined. A couple sits in silence. One fills it with commentary, the other nods, absorbing, reflecting internally, yet neither voice the tension that lingers. Observing oneself or others reveals a spectrum of compulsion, from casual over-explaining to urgent need for constant vocal presence, all governed by hidden reward loops. A parent corrects every minor misstatement at a family gathering. The room adjusts, laughter continues, yet the nervous system registers subtle constriction, slight depletion, invisible friction. Psychologist Carl Jung noted that shadows manifest in habitual patterns often disguised as personality. The same is true for speech as defense, visible, yet misunderstood. In work presentations, someone dominates discussion, their output filled with facts, corrections, anecdotes. Colleagues notice competence yet feel an inexplicable weight, a collective subtle fatigue. Even digital conversations mirror the effect. Endless threads of clarification and commentary leave participants cognitively occupied but emotionally distanced, engagement replaced by noise. Silence itself becomes threatening, internally and externally, a space where uncertainty and unresolved tension might surface, avoided instinctively through verbal overcompensation. Micro-stories unfold across every environment: friends, family, workplace, public spaces, each demonstrating speaking as survival, listening as vulnerability, connection shadowed by precaution. The observer senses imbalance, noticing the pattern externally first, then internally, as reflection stirs awareness of how deeply it inhabits human interaction. Awareness brings discomfort, a quiet recognition that talking more often obscures reality, masks fear, and regulates internal anxiety in ways difficult to confront. The pattern resists resolution. It is adaptive, learned, reinforced, culturally rewarded, yet psychologically costly, present, necessary, and simultaneously draining. Each interaction becomes layered with anticipation, caution, and compulsion, leaving minds alert to speech yet hesitant to expose the same vulnerability themselves. Micro-stories continue. One colleague dominates a call, another absorbs silently. One sibling narrates dinner, others accommodate quietly. A partner fills pauses, leaving presence unspoken. Recognition alone does not dissolve the habit. Understanding illuminates it, deepens unease, and invites contemplation without closure. The behavior is neither evil nor ignorance. It is survival expressed socially, technologically, and culturally, pervasive and persistent in its quiet influence. One is left noticing it everywhere, feeling its pull, sensing its function, yet unable to fully reconcile the relief it brings with the fatigue it generates. The realization lingers. Constant speech is at once protective and exhausting, adaptive and alienating, familiar yet subtly corrosive, a shadow whose shape never fully resolves. Reflection remains incomplete, a slow echo of awareness that haunts ordinary conversation, leaving the mind suspended between observation, recognition, and quiet disquiet. The hidden truth is persistent. The pattern cannot be entirely undone. It only exists, quietly influencing every interaction, every pause, every unsaid word, every spoken one. Awareness settles without resolution, a mirror held up to human behavior, revealing patterns shaped by fear, survival, and social reward, yet never fully named, never fully reconciled. Some people will notice it first in others, some later in themselves, and all carry the subtle imprint, an unspoken rhythm of human adaptation. The conversation ends, but the pattern persists, a quiet echo within social spaces, digital streams, and private moments, leaving reflection unfinished, a lingering psychological shadow. Awareness alone exposes the truth, yet leaves it unresolved, quietly unsettling, deeply human, and endlessly present.